A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 30, year one. Today, we're going to talk about my week in poker, and there was a lot of it. We're also going to take our phone calls. We're going to have my pick of the week. Buckle up. The Mouthpiece is next. All right, everybody, welcome to the Mouthpiece, episode 30, year one. We are coming up on Christmas week. Normally, that is the slowest weekend in Las Vegas, and it is actually very slow now. But this week, poker was booming like I have not seen it since the beginning of the poker boom. Money was flowing. Games were everywhere. Everyone was in town for the 5 Diamond tournament. There were mixed games, no limit games, PLO games. I mean, you could play anywhere from 40-80 mix to 3 and 6,000 mix, 5 and 10 no limit, up into 500 and 1,000 no limit. There are actually 2 500 and 1,000 no limit games going this week. There were, 200 no limit games that were just insane. There were 50 and 100 no limit games, which I played in a few. And then there was a tournament all week. So I guess we can go back to how the week kind of started. I sold half myself on U-Stake for the 5 Diamond tournament, and I was thinking about going with 2 bullets, but I'm one of those people that I've never had success if I didn't do well. If I re-entered, I just never had success. It's just something with me that just never happened. So I kind of told the guy who runs U-Stake that I was like, nah, just put me up for 1 bullet. And, I felt really good going into the week. I'd been playing a lot of no limit. And things were started off really well for us. I was literally 4 hands in to the start of day one. We started with 40,000 in chips, and I had 65,000 after 4 hands, which is unbelievable because we're playing 100, 200 with no ante. So I sit down first hand, I get pocket jacks. I get called in 2 spots. Flop came king, jack, blank, rainbow. Check, I check, the button checks. Turn card comes a 9 of spades. Small blind checks. I bet 800. One guy folds, a big blind calls. And the river comes a blank, check, and I bet 1,000. And one guy folded, and that was that hand. I pick up about 1,500, and 6, 6, and 9 was that. 2,100. So I pick up 2,100 first hand, and I don't show it. But then the very next hand dealt, I get pocket queens. I raise. I get 3 callers again. Flop comes deuce 5 10 rainbow, deuce 4 10 rainbow. My girl's sitting next to me thinking, how does Mike remember every hand and all these flops? I know what she's thinking right now, but it's just, that's the only thing I remember. I don't remember what I did yesterday, everybody, but I remember every hand I play. I don't know. My brain's fucked up. So flop came deuce 4 10. So I bet, since I had 3 callers for 600, so there was 2,400 in the pot. I end up betting 1,200 at the pot. I get 1 caller. The turn card comes a 4. I then bet 2,500, and I get a caller. And then the river comes a 9, and I bet 4,200, and I get called. And so I pick up about 8,000 there. So now we're 2 hands in, and I'm up 10,000. Matter of fact, I know I was up 10,000. I looked at my stack, I counted it. I was 10,100 after 2 hands, and I was just like, and I kind of like show him my two, or when I had to turn it over when the guy called the queens. And so the next hand I fold, and then the next hand I pick up pocket jacks again. And I raise, and I get 3 callers again. And by the way, that sounds kind of crazy, but this is a very good starting table. I always like to cry about how bad the starting tables I get, because I do get horrible starting tables. But for the 5-diamond tournament, which I knew was going to be a very tough tournament, getting a table like this, I was like, wow, this is great. So I raised with 2 jacks, get like 4 callers. The flop came down 7-9 deuce. The guy in the small blind leads out. I get a caller in between. I make it 2,100. He calls. Turn card comes a jack. Check. I bet 5,800, like almost pot. He calls. When the turn card comes a 5, which makes 6-8 a straight. And the guy let out for 5,000. Now, everything to me said blocker bet, but who knows? I mean, maybe he had 6-8, you know what I mean? I didn't think there was any hand I raise with here that I get called with. So I just call, and he shows me 10 jack. So he led a gutter ball, called the raise, hit a jack that made me trips, and I get full pay. So now he was the one that paid me off with the queens I had before. So I know this guy's a fish cake in the game. So I looked down, I got 65,000. I'm like, I was telling the table, I'm like, the very first hand I got dealt were jacks too. So I've had jacks, queens, jacks, 3 out of 4 hands. I'm like, I don't know if this is good or not. I'm like, when you catch cards like that early in a tournament, it's usually never a good sign. But then again, when you catch hands like that, when there's 100, 200, no ante, and you stack up 25,000, almost 60% of your stack, that's unheard of either, because mostly I'm playing small ball. I'm never betting those, like that kind of chips, with 100, 200 with no ante. So I felt really good. And then I went 4 hours without dragging a chip. Like, I'll call raise any 2 suited connectors. If I called with 7-8 of clubs, the flop came 10 jack queen. If I called a raise with 5-6 of clubs, the flop came 9-10 jack of diamonds. It was just like, I never hit any part of any flop. And then I probably opened. What was really weird is, like, I was playing my normal really snug, especially early on. I went like maybe an hour and a half without even entering a pot. And then I raised under the gun and got 7 callers. How good is this game? You don't play a hand for an hour and a half. You raise under the gun and you get 7 callers. I had ace king suited. The flop came 5, 6, 7. I'm not in my suit, so I didn't lose anything. But I was like, I just texted a friend of mine. I'm like, yeah, this is supposed to be the toughest tournament. I'm like, I haven't played a hand in an hour and a half. I raised in the 1 hole, and I just got 7 callers. Like, everybody at the table called. So, I said, well, you ain't going to ever bluff anybody in this game, so you better just kind of snug up a little bit. So I kind of blinded down to like 41. I've picked up a few hands. We're now playing about, I think we're up to 400 with 400 ante. Yeah, and I picked up a few hands. So now I built myself back up to 54,000, and I was cruising along, pretty happy, liking the way I played, and then came the hand that I tortured myself for about 3 hours over. And I have this kind of rule, which has really helped me mentally, which is try not to think about anything negative that happened more than 2 hours in the past. And my girlfriend had to remind me of that because I couldn't get it out of my mind how I fucked this hand up. But I'll tell you guys what happened. So the hijack raises, the cutoff calls, and I had 2 black 7s on the button, and I call. And the blinds folded, and 3 of us take the flop. And the flop comes King 4-7 with 4-7 of diamonds. The raiser checks. Matt Affleck, who called the raise, he bets 21. Let's see, 20. Yeah, he bet like 21 into like 3,600, and I make it 6,700 right on the flop. Right, the board's draw heavy. They could think maybe I have king something of diamonds. A lot of hands, I could have, but I'm one of those people that love to bet my hands when I have it, because all the other people like to slow play their hands, and if you raise the flop, they never put you on a big hand. They put you usually on a draw or top pair, maybe a draw, whatever. So when Matt Affleck called 4,600 more, I mean, every single sense in my body says he's got the nut flush draw, because one thing I do know is Matt Affleck knows me, that I'm not usually the type of person that will raise a draw. Maybe I raised king, queen of diamonds, but other than that, I just felt he has a flush draw. So now, of course, the 9 of diamonds rolls off, and I know that Matt knows that I like to play small ball, that I'm always going to check back turn. So when he checked the turn, I changed my mind for some god-awful reason. I said to myself, well, he knows how I play here. If he's checking the turn here, maybe I am wrong that he has the nut flush draw, and maybe he put me on like a king, queen of diamonds. So I decide now to bet 10,000. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I'm looking right. I have my sunglasses on, which I don't really usually have, but I just decided to wear them because I knew this tournament's kind of tough. And I'm kind of looking right at him, and I'm like, fuck, man, I fucked up. He's got flush for sure, right? And so now he makes it 23-5, and I call the 13-5. I still have 24,000 behind, but once I bet, and he makes it 13-5 more. Basically, I mean, there's no other hand he can have. I mean, he's just no. And people are like, well, could he have ace king with the ace of diamonds? I'm like, no, because of the fact that from a hijack raise, he's going to 3-bet ace king on the cutoff 100% of the time. So, I just knew it's whatever. So now I had to call 13-5 more. And now I'm not even looking at the river. I'm just looking at him, and he just says all in, and it's a jack of diamonds on the river. And I just folded, and I was so incensed that I bet the turn, because if I check back turn, diamond comes off on the river. I can't beat it. It's just like an easy fold. It's just even 10 times easier fold. I lose 0. So I would have finished, could have finished the day with 60,000 instead of 37.5 that I finished the day with. So mad at myself, and I even said to Matt, I go, what do you think I have? And he said, I'm pretty sure you had a set of 7s. I'm like, good read, but also if he thinks I have a set of 7s on the flop, like, is he going to call to see if a diamond rolls off to try and rep a flush against me? That people don't call big raises, especially against me out of position. So he had it. I was just so mad that I didn't follow my instincts, and so I think it went on for 3 hours, a little bit, an hour longer than it should have. I couldn't get this shit out of my head, the mistake I made. But I was down to 24. I picked up a couple of annies, had about, maybe I had 30. And then I played a hand. I was really proud of myself. This time I did follow my instincts, because I even told myself going into the tournament, like I hadn't played most tournaments, and it's very important that I follow my instincts. It's like the one thing in life I'm born with is the instincts in poker, to just know when I'm beat or know what they have. And I'm just something. I can't explain it. It's just something I have. So I raised with ace 10 of hearts. Guy in the big blind calls. The flop came down. King, queen, 4 with 1 heart. He checked. I c-bet to like 2,100. He called. The turn card came a blank. He checked. I then bet 5,000, and he called. And the river came a blank, and he checked, and I moved in for 17,000. And my gut just told me he just didn't have a hand he could call with against me, who he's watched play all day long. He's watched me pretty much control the pot, check back, play a lot of small ball pots, and he also watched me go crazy about me betting when I had a set of sevens. So I just felt he wasn't going to call. He turns his chair to the side. He's looking up at the TV, and he's like not looking at me. He's literally looking up at the TV. He turned his chair to the side. I'm like looking stone-faced. I'm like, if I bluff off all my chips here after I just grenaded 23-5 in a hand I should have checked back, I'm just won't be able to live with myself. But at least I follow my instinct. So he comes back. He throws a chip forward almost, and he pulls back. And it's like, I was literally getting nauseated watching this. And finally he folds, and I'm like, okay, yes, you followed your instincts. You were right. And I chipped up to like 34, 35. The next thing you know, I was back to 41,000. So that's starting stack. I really never had a hand after that. I opened a few times. It was towards the end of the night. I picked up some blind and nannies. And the very last hand of the night, I probably should have just check folded, but I opened Jack 10 of clubs. The guy on the button makes it 6,000, and I said I was just fucking with him. Like I don't know. It's either going to be all in or fold. I don't know what I'm doing. But I was always folding. I was just like trying to get a read if he was fucking with me or not. And I folded. And he showed me 2 queens. So kind of sucks to lose a couple grand the last hand of the night. But I finished 37.5. That's going to day 2 is 37.5 big blinds at 90-minute levels going into day 2. So I felt really comfortable. Day 2, my table draw sucked shit. It was like open, everybody folds, right? Or open, 3-bet, fold. There was just nobody, not many people. It was not a very good table to pick up chips. But after about an hour and 15 minutes, I still had 37.5, and I had not had a playable hand all day. So I was pretty proud of myself of keeping my stack size up without having any hands. And then came the hand that was, and I've asked like 3 or 4 different people what they thought of the hand, and they all agreed with me, and I feel pretty comfortable about how the hand went. So I raised under the gun. I hadn't played a hand in forever. I had maybe 35,000, not quite sure, and I had 2 queens, and Joe C-Rock calls me in the cutoff, and he's played with me a lot. He knows I don't fuck around. If I'm raising under the gun, I got a big hand. You know what I'm saying? So, but my read on him, like, originally was, like, pocket 9s, maybe, like, a 10-jack suited. I didn't put him on an ace, that's for sure. Flop come down ace, ace 5, and I c-bet for 2,500. So, let's see, I open for 25, bet half pot. He calls, and the turn card comes a jack, and now I bet 6,500, and he calls, and I'm just like, there's no way he's calling me, who never barrels and I never raise under the gun light, without having an ace here. So I started thinking, well, Joe would just flat my under the gun raise with ace queen or ace king. He would never 3-bet it. Or even ace jack suited. So the river, I just decide that if he's calling my big bet here and I've got 15,000 left behind, I mean, he just has to have an ace. I check it. And I checked it in a way where I wanted to look, where if I had an ace, also a big ace, I would check it to him and let him maybe bluff at it. You know what I mean? But then he puts me in for 15,000, and I just don't see any way. And everybody I've asked about this hand too, they all said, good fold, Mike. He probably, like half the people I said thinks that he had ace jack and just had a full house on the turn. And a lot of them even said it's very possibly at ace king, or ace queen, because against me, he's definitely not three betting me from the one hole race. So that was a hand that really kind of cost us a little bit of chips. So I opened for 25. I bet 25. That's 5. I bet 68. I think it was on the turn. So that's 11-8. And then I had to fold. After the hand, I had, about 24,000. We went through the blinds, like 2 more rounds through the blinds. And we went on break. So we went on break. I had 14 big blinds. So we went to 6 and 1,200. So what is 14? I think I had, I had 17,000. I had 17,000. So 14 bigs is plenty for me. 90-minute levels, I was pretty happy. So the very first hand back, a guy middle position, older gentleman, he opens for 3,000. I don't know how to explain it, but the way he opened, my instinct said he wasn't very strong. I looked down at ace jack of clubs, and when you got 14 bigs and you think the guy opens is not that strong, you're just going to ship it. Even if I thought he wasn't very strong, I wouldn't have shipped an ace 10 with so many people behind me. So, and I'm not going to ship a king queen or any of that. So basically I have my range to ship him with is probably ace jack, ace queen, ace king, or 10s plus. So I moved all in. Guy in the small blind who's been playing me all day, but they never pay attention to how you're playing, so it doesn't make a difference. He just snap calls out of the big blind with ace queen offsuit, and he's probably only going to have me beat there 2 out of 10 times because of how I play. I'm not yet a GTO player, something that I am actually starting to study these things just to kind of understand things that are important, what the right play is if you don't have a read on somebody and all these other things. So it's very important that I'm out to learning. So many people, they get stuck in their head. They're not going to want to learn things. I'm always the type of guy that wants to learn things if I feel that it can make me better, because I don't know if there's 10 people in the world that read cards better than me or has instincts better than me. So it's very important that if I learn what everybody else is doing and I incorporate that into my reading ability, if that just doesn't turn me back into one of the top 3 no-limit players in the world. So we're going to find out, because I'm going to be doing a lot of work in the next 3-4 months on this. So, but he calls, and jack in the window with a queen right behind it. I got a little excited that I might get lucky. And the turn card came a king of clubs, so that gave me the nut flush draw and a straight draw for chops. Of course, I break off, and out the door I went. I wasn't upset of how I went broke. I know for sure that the guy would have folded, because he snap folded when the guy called 17,000, so he didn't even think about it. So my read on him was right. This unfortunate guy behind him woke up with a hand, and who knows? If it's a re-entry tournament. If it's not a re-entry tournament, maybe the guy doesn't call in that spot. I mean, who the fuck knows? But anyways, I thought I played well, but I don't feel I played A+. Day one, I gave myself a C, and that's including the hand that I should have checked back when the diamond rolled off. I felt there were spots that I didn't attack. I was being a little more on the conservative side because I was really important to me to try and get to day two with the 90-minute levels. And, you know, I really wanted to have around a 60K stack that I had after 5 minutes in the tournament. I even said it, I'm like, man, if I finished the day with 65, I'd be happy. That'd be 65 big blinds going to day two, you know. There was, we had some guy, I mean, even the guy that gave me those chips in those first two hands, like he was down to 12,000. I mean, if I tell you guys how this guy went broke, I mean, I think every time in poker, if you think you've seen it all, you just haven't seen it all. I mean, the guy went broke, he limped for 300 under the gun. Guy in middle position made it 1,200. The guy behind him made it 4,800. And him who had 300 in the pot and limped under the gun says, I'm all in, 12,500. So we're at 150,300. So he still had 40 big blinds. You know what I mean? And the guy in the middle folds, and the guy at 3-bet calls and turns over 2 black kings. And, I mean, you guys will not believe what this guy turned over that limped and 4-bet all in under the gun. He had 3-4 of hearts. And just when I think I've seen it all, I just watch a guy limp for 300. It went raise and re-raise, and he cold 4-bet 12,000 with 4 high. Of course, the flop came 8-9 queen with 2 clubs. Have a nice day. I guess maybe you're used to 4-bet shipping the 4-3 of hearts and the flop coming 4-4-3. I don't know. You know, that was something. I mean, that was bizarre. But I mean, that guy was pretty live at the table. But even as live as he was, that was really bizarre. And it was funny too. Before he went broke, he goes, "What's wrong with this table?" He goes, "Nobody's gambling." I'm like, "Nobody's gambling?" I go, "I ain't played a hand in an hour and a half. I just raised under the gun and got 7 callers. What do you mean nobody's gambling?" And the whole table started laughing. So it was pretty funny. Well, yeah, I was kind of disappointing. So that day ended. Phil called me Wednesday night and said he was pretty sure I was going to have a seat in holidays for Helmuth, with Helmuth. So I went to bed, got up, slept good. Went down there and I'm texting him, "Do I have a seat?" And he's not texting me back. So now I know, like, the least he could say is, "Mike, there's not going to be a seat for you." But there actually was a seat for me, but he didn't want to make it 8-handed for me. I'm like, "So you guys always play 8-handed?" But he's like, "Well, we're not going to make it 8-handed for you," which is, I guess, a compliment. You know, you want to play with a bunch of morons, you know. But as it ends up, Phil ends up playing about the worst he's ever played in his whole life. And I know a lot of people out there think Phil's just always plays bad or whatever, but he doesn't. He misplays hands. But for some reason on this Thursday, I went down to the studio and all our friends that we hung out and all his buddies from Florida, we were there. So we all just kind of sat around and watched poker all day. And we played Chinese poker. I don't think I've ever watched 6 hours straight of poker in, I couldn't tell you how many years. Maybe, I don't know, maybe when I was sick in 2015 or the year that, maybe it was the year that I was not able to play the main event. I watched a lot of poker because that was when I got that MRSA staph infection and I couldn't play the main event. So, unfortunately, that was the only time I missed the main event in 22 years. But so I was just watching a lot of the main event that year. But other than that, I never watched poker. But, you know, so we all ended up going to dinner last night on Thursday night after the taping was done. We went to a place called Musashi, great food. Everybody was really happy I picked that place. I mean, I've known the guy for a lot of years. Just really, really good food. And to cap off my beautiful, wonderful week in which I think I lost about 10,000. I capped it off with credit card roulette, and 5 of us put our credit cards in, and as normally, why would I ever win a 5-to-1 shot? So I had to pay $1,365 for the meal. So that capped off my week of total of losing 10 grand, about 10 grand for the week, which in a normal old Mikey would be like a nothing week, but in Mikey's new world, 10,000 is a disastrous week. And so, just because I working hard on trying to build the bankroll up, make sure I pay people off that I owe. And so having a 10,000 losing week is never good. Would have been nice to be in the holidays for Helmuth where I could have, the funny thing was I was selling 50% of myself to Phil. So if he made it 8-handed for me and had 50% of me and the game was pretty darn good, it would have been better for him. Instead, he had to play like a complete idiot. He was stuck 50. Then he's so tilted he buys in for 50. And then he tries to bluff Rob Young with this huge 3-bet pre-flop and this huge bet on the flop. The board was King 10-7. Rob Young had King 9 of diamonds. Phil had pocket deuces. And somehow, some way, a deuce rolls off and checked, and now Rob Young fell for it. He thought Phil was weak, but now Phil bets like 10,000 into 40 on a turn, and Rob felt him as weakness, and he just hasn't played enough with Phil to know that when Phil does something like that, he has a big hand, and Rob Young moved in on him, and Phil snap calls him, and somehow Phil played, and he'll admit it. He'll tell you it's the worst session he's ever played on TV poker. A lot of people listening will be like, well, he plays like that all the time, but that's not true. Phil misplays hands all the time, not misplays every single hand he played on the screen. And, it was funny, he was all happy afterwards. He won 24,000 or whatever. And I'm just like, we're going to dinner. I'm like, fuck him. I'm like, I'm not going to tell him like I always do how great he played and how he won. Good job, Phil. We all shredded him. Like, you played so awful. And he's like, I know. And he kept saying, I know it was the worst I've ever played. I know you don't have to keep bringing it up. But me, I have to just hammer him on it because every single thing he tells me about, like, he doesn't, when I find him not applying what he tells me, I'm going to call him out for it. And I thought buying in for 10,000 at a time, limping with 6-8 suited, calling raises for like 1,200 out of position when he's got only buying in 10,000 at a time. It's just ridiculous. But he was just off. Like, he was sick the day before, where he had to get antibiotics, or 2 days before, right after he busted the main. So, a lot of times when you got a flu in your system, or I don't want to make excuses, but there's been many times I'm coming down with something, or I've been sick, where I just do just crazy shit that my brain just doesn't work right. So I'm going to give him a pass for this one, but every other time I'm going to rip on him. But it was so funny too when he stacked off and lost like a 56K pot to James board. When the flop came like 8 high, he had like 10-8 offsuit, and James board had pocket kings. And somehow Phil put 28,000 in with 10-8 offsuit against James board. That's only 150 big blinds with top pair no kicker when he can only beat a stone bluff. And granted, James bluffed a lot of hands, but it's not Phil's style. Phil's not the type of guy that gets in there with dog shit and calls off big amounts of money. So then that like put him on tilt for the whole day. Like, he kept running back to us like, oh my God, I played so bad. Oh my God, I played. And we're all laughing at him. We're like, yeah, Phil, that was really, really bad. Anybody who's friends with Phil knows that there's nothing more fun than making fun of him when he plays bad or when he's going crazy. So, but it's all good. We had a great dinner. And that was my week. That's pretty much what's going on. Anyways, we'll be right back on the Mouthpiece, and our phone call segments are coming up.
The Mouthpiece.
If you'd like to take part in our phone call segment, you can give us a call at 702-329-0480. And if you're a snowflake or a pussy and you don't want to talk to me, you can email me at mouthpiecepodcast@gmail.com. Also, follow me at the Mouth Matusow on Twitter for times that our call-in segment will be live. Okay, it's my favorite time of the show, the phone call segments. Let's see what my fans have to say this week. Let's light up the lines. What's up, man? Welcome to the Mouthpieces, Mike. Who's this?
Straight from Georgia. What you up to, bro?
Not much. How's it going out there?
Yeah, man. I've been running like prick lately and stuff, and it's like holiday season and shit.
I say just stay positive, man. Keep a positive
dude,
mindset.
I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you, man. I swear to God, I'm not just saying this. I've been a fan, like, I grew up, gambling, like, grew up in a pool hall and shit, and then moneymaker, started playing poker in the bar.
Right.
And then, actually, took it pro online and stuff. And then, so I've always been, like, involved in gambling. But, man, I do not know lately. I guess I got 3 kids and a wife and a shit ton of overhead. So it's hard to have a separate bankroll from poker. And, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and I'm not playing super big. I play 2-5. But,
right.
dude, some of these 2-5 games play like they're 25-50 sometimes, because you have a mandatory 25 button straddle, and then an open raise is 75, a 3-bet's 300. You know what I mean? So
I played in a 2-5 game live at the bike like 3 months ago. I won 16,000 and I won 21,000 in 2 plays. The game was played unbelievable. I mean, but what's it doing is, like, back in the days, and I tell people this all the time, is there's a reason why when you bought in a 2-5 game, it was the max you could buy in for was 500. If you bought in a 5-10, max you could buy in for was 1,000. 10-20, 2,000. 25-50, 5,000. 50-100, 10,000. There's a reason why they had it. This way, they had it so the game didn't play insanely big. It kept everybody from going broke, and it kept the money going down the hole. Now, I mean, like you just said, you could be in a 2-5 game and like playing like 25-50,
That's why games got tougher, bro, because you have people playing 1-2 that, go out and lose 2,500 when they used to lose 600. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
all the fish go busted in a week's time instead of spreading it out in 2 months. And
it's the reason why all the poker rooms are empty. You know what I'm saying? And you'd think they would be smarter than that, but they're not. And it's going to end up happening in tournament poker too, because they're just choking everybody out of every quarter with re-entries and max late regs, and eventually all the people getting staked are going to get cut off. And
that shit sucks, man, for real. I don't agree with that. To be honest with you, I love playing tournaments. I used to grind online 24/7 for 3 years straight, but like the main event, you know what I mean? If you plays perfect for 6 days and get out of line in one hand, you're gone. What do you mainly play? You're mainly playing mixed games, right?
My whole life, that's all I've done is mixed games. But lately, I've been getting into a lot of really good private, no limit games where it's like, it's really hard to lose. I mean, you put yourself in games that are and see, you know what? That's what I like. I would like, back in the day before everybody knew how to play, it's like I didn't go and show up and see if I was going to win for the day. It was, how much do I want to win today? There was like, I one time won 53 out of 54 sessions.
That's sick, bro.
I've had 3 losing months in my life. 2 of them were after I got sick in the last 4 years, and one of those was because I went broke and didn't have a chance to get back in action. So
that's so crazy that you say that. It just shows how much money you won playing poker, and then I guess, no offense, donked it off doing other stupid shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I lost 6.7 betting sports, 4.2 staking people, probably another $3 million partying.
When you staked people, did you have like agreements like with makeup and whatnot, or did like people because usually
a lot of times I did, and a lot of times I just took I put people in events that I thought were plus EV,
obviously,
or I'd put them in a cash game. I just never won. After Scotty won the World Series for me in 1998, I never won staking one person ever.
That's crazy.
And I stake good players. I just it's just, I don't know, maybe people that get staked, they put extra pressure on themselves. When people stake me, they're getting 10 times the player that if I played my own money. So I'm
the opposite. I play better with my own money because I'm fearless. I feel like I owe it to my backer to play my A game, which I actually intermittently don't because I'm so pressured out that I'm not thinking logically in situations.
And I'm the opposite. On my own, if I lose, when I had money, I didn't give a fuck. But if I'm playing and matter of fact, I'm going to talk about that on the podcast this week about I had an opportunity to play in the 500 and 1,000 cash game in the Poker Go studio this week, and I had the money raised, and because a couple people didn't play and it was going to end up being a little bit shorthanded, I backed out because I didn't want to. I knew the game with Rick Solomon straddling every hand. You're going to need $500,000 to sit in the game, and I didn't want to sit with 200,000 and put people in a spot where I had to play ultra nitty and I couldn't play my game. So, most people would never ever back out of that spot, where they have a chance to win big money. But that's the difference. I always put my people that stake me in bigger games in spots where I'm 90% sure I'm going to win. I know it's gambling and you're never that good, but you know what?
Of course.
I make sure I put myself in spots where people just, they don't play, but they just call. You want to be in spots where people are calling off check call, like big amounts of money, but they're never super aggro. They're never putting you to the test. When you're in games like that, you're never risking a chip, and you're always going to get paid. And those are the games I just like to play in. And
I wish I had the option of game selection. So the nearest casino for me is 3 hours in Cherokee, and I live in Georgia, so I play home games, and all of it's on books.
Right.
So I buy it for cash, and I get cash out. These people that get on books, they settle up, weeks down the road or whatever. But it's like fake money to them in so many ways.
Right. Yep.
And it's frustrating too because it's always the same lineup, and you're playing against people that basically have an unlimited bankroll and playing no limit. You're not gonna you know what I'm saying? You're gonna get cooler. You're gonna be in.
All you have to do is watch Poker Go this week. Just now, I was watching the 500,000 game, and Rick Solomon and be like, raise, he 3-bet, guy 4-bets it to 85,000. He just 65K more, king 10 off. Flop came, the flop come ace, jack, 6 of clubs. The guy had 2 queens, no club. The guy bets 30 at the pot.
300K.
The guy bets 30,000 at the pot. And then Rick calls, guy checks a turn, Rick bets 75, and the guy folds, and that's because Rick doesn't give a shit. He's got unlimited money.
Yeah, he's a fucking billionaire, whatever
that's the thing is when back in 2000 when I had $1 million cash, and back in 2000 $1 million was 10 million a day. It was everybody that stepped up to play me head up. I just with 20, 30,000, 30,000, 25, 30,000 shots head up. I put them to their test for their bankroll, and they just couldn't call. And that's the thing. In No Limit Hold'em, money is power. And like you said, if you're playing in a home game where they got unlimited, that's going to put you in a really negative spot. So
it's tough. Yeah, for sure.
So,
and I'm super result oriented, man, and I can't stand. Even if I think I made a smart play or whatever, 3-betting, jamming, or folding in a spot, it just always drives me nuts because I'm not able to put in thousands of hands because the game runs once a week, or twice a week, and it's I don't have game selection either where I could go to a casino and pick a soft table or whatnot. So those are things I guess I need to work on because my A game, I'm a winning player. B game is like I'm break even.
Yeah. No, I believe it. And no, the game selection is everything. Trust me, I know. I used to challenge the world head up. I'd jump in any three-handed game, and even when I hadn't played for.
That's fun shit I want to hear about on the podcast. Like when Barry Greenstein was playing, where was he sitting at the win when he was playing 500K heads-up matches? Like I heard versus anyone in the world, Daniel challenged him. I heard it on someone's podcast.
Yeah, I remember that.
Stories or some shit.
I remember that.
So I always heard you were one of the best 08 players. Did you play him any back in the day, or y'all didn't? Were y'all in together?
I probably played 100,000 hours with Barry Greenstein. You know, Barry. One of Barry's biggest problems, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, is you know, he used to be a DGen, and he gave a lot of money to charity when he had it, and he also he had a sickness, and he bet props real big and Chinese poker real big, and then started losing, and you know, and he just couldn't overcome it. And then a lot of people, you know, they never want to make the adjustments to the new when the game starts to evolve, and I think that really hurt a lot too. Where I have always made the adjustments, where I try to listen and try and make some kind of adjustments, and I think it's helped me out a lot, kept me winning consistently. So anyways.
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate the call, man. Got to run. I wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. You be safe.
You too, brother. Good luck. Run good. Be safe, man.
You got it, man. Take care.
Bye.
Later. Welcome to the Mouthpiece. This is Mike.
Mike, what's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy? Who's this?
My name is Ron. I'm in College Station, Texas.
Ah, cool, man. Nice to meet you, Ron. What's going on, man?
Yeah, you too. Oh, I'm actually running my little poker room. We got about 8 players left, and they're playing PLO.
Cool.
Reverse button PLO, 2 hands every orbit.
Oh, okay. Cool. Cool, man.
So that's the reason for my call. I wanted to ask you about wraps.
Wraps, okay. In PLO?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you give me a little better explanation about what a wrap is and like the ultimate?
Okay, a wrap.
Reading online.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like a wrap, it's called like a, let's just say 5, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9, 10, Jack, Queen. Okay. And let's say you have 9, 10, Jack, Queen. I think it's one of the probably top 5 hands in PLO. If the flop comes down 8 and a 9, let's just say, now you have a complete, any 10, Jack or Queen gives you a straight.
So that's 4, 8, 12. Okay.
And then like an 8 and you have a pair, and 9 makes trip 9. So that's a pair and a wrap. A complete wrap is if you have 9, 10, Jack, Queen, and the board comes 7, 8, you now win with a 6, a 9, a 10, or a Jack. So
you could have up to like 20.
Yeah, 21. I think a 21 card in PLO is the biggest wrap you could have, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost positive. You could have 21 cards that make you the nuts. Like, let's just say you have 8, 9, 10, ace with ace 10 of hearts, and the flop comes down 6, 7 of hearts. Now you win with a 5, an 8, a 9, a 10, or a heart. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12 plus 9 hearts is 21 outs. That's the biggest kind of draw you can have in PLO. So
one other thing too. In high low.
Mm-hmm.
Under the gun or in the big blind. I'm sorry, in the small blind or big blind. Unless you got a 2-way hand, are you recommended any kind of raise there with like I don't know, like an ace?
I don't like to give too much of my 08 secrets away, but it's very important to do 2 things. When you enter from the small blind, big blind, I limp a lot of big hands, because then they raise and they think we call it deception, and I'll raise a lot of my marginal or big hands. So it's very important to kind of mix it up. I'm one of the type of people that love limping big hands out of the small blind because then they raise out of the big blind. So let's just say I limp with ace, deuce, 3, 10 double suited, and now they raise, right? I call. Well, now when the board comes a queen, a jack, and a 4, I'll lead out because it looks like I have like a high hand, and they don't know that I limp with a massive hand, but I have a gutter ball and I have a backdoor uncounterfeitable low. But when I lead out and they don't raise on the flop, now basically any card rolls off, I could continue to bet, and then if it comes a low card, I bet, and now the board pairs, I bet. So this puts me in a position to get away with kind of misrepping my hand, kind of like there's so many secrets in deception of making people believe you have one hand when you have another, and when you get there, even when they call and peel one off, then you're in a spot where you make the hand. In other words, it puts you in spots where you could pick up a lot of pots by just limping big hands in the small blind. It's something that nobody really ever does except for very good players. So but I'll also you can't just play one way. I'll raise big hands, I'll limp big hands. I'll check raise flops, after I raise on a board that looks like it doesn't hit me, because I'll also raise hand. It's all about just making sure you don't fall into a pattern. As long as you don't fall into a pattern, you're good to go.
Awesome. Hey, I want to tell you, I really enjoyed the Lane Slack podcast the other day. It was really good.
I appreciate it, man.
I heard it. I don't know what it was, but I appreciate your demeanor. You're a great guy, and appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, check out last week's episode with my friend Tristan. He teaches a lot of poker. If you're like really trying to learn like GTO and stuff like that, he's one of the best teachers there is, and it was a pretty good podcast last week also. So check it out. All right, my man. Take care. Have a great night. Thanks for the call.
Buddy. Yep.
You got it.
Thanks.
Later.
You too. Hey, if you're ever in Texas, come see us. Okay.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
The Mouthpiece.
Okay. It's time for the pick of the week, everybody. I know you all get excited for the Mike's pick of the week because I'm so bad. We are now 5-10 on the season. Last week's loss really was deflating because we never had a chance. I mean, we took 10.5. The line went to 8. The other team scored 23, and we never had a chance. I mean, Denver had first and goal at the 8-yard line twice and got 0 points twice. They scored a touchdown and a field goal they cover. I mean, that's 10 more points. They lost by 20. We were getting 10.5, but we didn't get shit. So we are 5-10 on the pick of the week. Our 2-week winning streak is officially over. And this week has been a really interesting week on the card. Trying to figure out, I'm kind of so glad I don't bet this stuff anymore. But I try and find usually one I really, really like. And it's been a tough one going down here. So I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals getting 9.5 versus Seattle. Why am I doing this? It's not because Arizona came off, crushed a piece of shit Cleveland team last week. I'm doing it because it just doesn't matter this game. If they lose, it's meaningless. As long as they beat Frisco next week, they win the division. If they win this game and lose to Frisco next week, they lose the division. This is basically a meaningless game for Seattle. And so I'm going to go with Arizona plus the 9.5 as my pick of the week. My pick of the week brought to you by mybookie.ag. If you want to gamble, you want to be a DGen, they have casino games, regular in-live betting. Anything you want to do, go to mybookie.ag. Promo code Mouthpiece. Up to a 200% deposit bonus. That's mybookie.ag. Promo code Mouthpiece. 200% deposit bonus. There's 2 more weeks left of football. If you guys want to bet, there's where you go. Alrighty. I hope you enjoyed episode 30 of The Mouthpiece. And stay tuned, hopefully next week, for episode 31. It is Christmas week. I'm not sure if we're going to have a podcast next week. We did miss Thanksgiving, and the people I work with do have families. So hopefully we'll get something out for Christmas week, episode 31. If not, join us the following week. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. We'll see you next week on The Mouthpiece.